Don't be shocked by the tone of the voice. Check out the new Sandwormaloo choice. Don't be shocked by the tone of the voice. Check out my new Chris Knife of choice. Dune Part 2 is once again written and directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Dune Part 1, Blade Runner 2049, Cesario, and other projects. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work. This is based on all by Frank Herbert. No, not that Herbert. Mourn the pity, as hilarious as that would have been. And one of the two writers from Dune Part 1 returned, the guy that helped also write Doctor Strange, The Mummy 2017, and The Darkest Hour. And I don't care if Doctor Strange was something that was well received. The Mummy 2017 and The Darkest Hour. What the fuck? How in the world could somebody have written the stories for those particular movies and said, yeah, that's good, that's really, really good. Nevertheless, maybe the guy just had a bunch of studio interference. Let's get back to Dune Part 2. So yes, the much publicized second part of Denis Villeneuve's Dune adaptation, where he is just bound determined to stretch this fucking story out to its goddamn limits like it's fucking taffy left on the dark side of Saturn. Okay, if you saw my recent review of Dune Part 1, I decided to catch up on that before watching this. It's a good thing, too, because some people might have even been more lost when they watched this, but yes, much of the cast that was from the first one returns, except the people that died. And if you don't know the people that died in Dune Part 1, you probably should watch that again so you're not confused, wondering, where the fuck is Jason Momoa? Oh, he's over there in the Aquaman universe that's been blown up. So other people return as well, but we do have returning characters. Paul Atreides, played by Timothée Chalamet, who was Paul in the first one. And maybe he's not Paul anymore. Maybe he's Super Paul. Good old MST3K track of the Moonbeast. You have Zendaya, returning as a very driven Freeman. Not hunt down the Freeman, we're not going with that. We have Rebecca Ferguson. God, she's gorgeous. She returns as the mother of Paul. And then you have Javier Bardem, who I love, and I just really wish they might, want to think about giving him subtitles more often, because, oh boy, Josh Brolin, what returned? And we get new faces. Austin Butler, virtually unrecognizable as one of the Heroicans, I think that's how it's said. I actually don't really honestly care about the Doom lore, so if you're a big fan of the Doom lore and I screw up any of this stuff, the comment box is there. I just wanted to watch this for pure entertainment, but Austin Butler, virtually unrecognizable as, look, Vegeta, more bald people. The group that Stellan Skarsgård, who's doing his best late-era Marlon Brando impression, and Dave Bautista were part of. The bald people that kind of reminded you of the villains from Dark City, just with far worse writing and far worse character development. So, you also get Florence Pugh, who, good God, as close to a perfect woman as you can get. Fucking gorgeous, great, tremendous actress. Was great in Midsommar, or Midsommar, or however you say that. She also was great in Oppenheimer. Check out my review of Oppenheimer. You might be surprised at how I felt about that. And also the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken, hence the intro. Because the instant I saw that, I'm like, oh no, how can I take this seriously with Christopher Walken as the goddamn Emperor? And Léa Seydoux, or however you say it, she's French. Remember the older of the two in Blue is the Warmest Color? And she was also in... No, not History of Violence. What the fuck was that? She was in that, body part deal thing that Cronenberg did. That's just goddamn, left my goddamn head because it was a really terrible movie. She's gorgeous. Really goddamn gorgeous. And yes, Stellan Skarsgård returns. So nevertheless, we just basically have the continuation of Frank Herbert's novel, where Paul is now leading the charge and preparing the Freeman to take down the evil empire that has enslaved Arrakis. I mean, kind of, sort of. It's also to spice up your life. People of the world, spice up your life. Let's go to Arrakis and spice up your life. Okay, I'm done with the song adaptations and the terrible singing, provided anybody is still watching this. If you are a big fan of the Doom lore, what the fuck are you doing here? Thank you very much for watching, but I'm not the biggest, fan of diving into the Doom lore. I watched the David Lynch version a while ago. I have not read the book. I'm sorry. I've seen how big it is. It's just not the type that I would want to read, but a cool adaptation, I would be all for. And David Lynch certainly has a flair for the dramatic and the visual, and his version was much derided, also praised by some people as a cult classic. Denis Villeneuve has a great ability to, do large scope action sequences and great. It looks impressive. It's worth seeing on the big screen, especially if you're a fan of Dune. There are some great, captivating shots that left me in awe. Shots of the mighty sand moon worm, and just lots of sand that's rough and coarse and gets everywhere, and lots of shit blowing up, and then more shit blows up. And then people are just popping out of sand to blow more shit up and doing stuff and traveling on these mighty sandworms and doing this stuff. And look, I'm going to be honest, I don't think these type of movies are really going to convert anybody into being Dune fans. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't really know. And if you know anything about Frank Herbert's, novels, you might actually be surprised where this one's going. Maybe you won't. I don't really know. I will say that as far as expanding the, version that David Lynch did, that's great. And there's one pretty good movie among the just over 5 hours of, film that we got between these two. It's kind of like the Hunger Games, the last Hunger Games book, Mockingjay. There was like 1.5, 1.25 really good, really good, movies right there in between the two. Yeah, I didn't care for this much at all. The action sequences were well done. I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. Stuff was just happening to where basically, even if you watch part one and even if you read up on it, you might be surprised, oh, this character's here and now this character's over here and now they're blowing shit up over here. This is the movie that the critics were saying was really goddamn great. I actually had to look at some of the critical reviews. There were some I think that were more than fair where they said the scope is really cool and the characters are pretty hollow. And as great as this cast is tremendously loaded. It also just has a bunch of stuff occurring. There is one part with, Baron and, that world and everything that's all black and white with a little bit of color. And that looks cool. Visually, this movie is fucking sumptuous. It's just soulless and not very interesting as far as a character or narrative standpoint. It's stuff that you've seen before, done in better movies, done with better writing, done with, people that didn't seem like they were in a goddamn soma coma. And when shit just occurs, you're like, okay, this is happening, and oh, now this character's doing this, and oh, we're just gonna give them this motivation, and this character's alive for reasons. Yeah, that's pretty much it right there. I mean, yes, there's a cool scope to it, but it's not interesting. I'm sorry, this movie is not interesting. This is one of the blandest, soulless, most fucking boring movies that I have seen on the big screen in a while. I was trying not to check my phone all that much. I don't want to watch. And yeah, again, action scenes, sumptuous, and great scope. Did any of it matter? No. People would just do something, and then suddenly we have this tonal shift for this one character. It just made me laugh. And then another tonal shift for a character just absolutely made me laugh. These character arcs stayed on the same plane, yet somehow they were trying to make it seem like, oh, it's this grand epic thing. No, it's fucking not. I gave a little bit of praise to the first part because at least I liked that they explained some things, they did stuff, and then this, I mean, yeah, they explained shit, you just stopped caring after a while, at least I did, so I'm just not gonna mix words. I pretty much did not like this movie on multiple levels, as great as it looked. It'll make a mint. We'll, probably get more movies like this at some point. I'm going to get into spoilers here in a bit, but it is in theaters, and it is worth seeing in theaters if you're a big Dune fan. It is going to make a lot of money, which I hope it does for the sake of the studio and the filmmaker, because, good God, this movie cost a goddamn bit. Look it up. You might be surprised. Nevertheless, yeah, good cast, really good cast. In a soma coma, great visuals, and soulless overall. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, yeah, we get, more, weird voice stuff. It's like, I believe it's power is spice and power is control or something. All this bullshit going on. Yeah, the spice, like a mutated type of cinnamon that people live on. And once Paul basically ingratiates himself with the Freeman, he is inducted into their society of sand people with sandstorms and deep hurting. He's named Usul. I mean, for reasons, I guess. For reasons that are probably clear to those that care about the lore. We cut occasionally to Florence Pugh, who, again, is fucking gorgeous and absolutely deserved better dialogue than this. Christopher Walken really looked like he was just about to turn to dust. I mean, he's got to be in his late 70s or early 80s at this point. I didn't expect him to be jumping around doing cartwheels or doing stuff like in the Fatboy Slim video, but my God. And stuff blows up. Josh Brolin shows back up. Hey, oh my God, Josh Brolin's back. Well, yeah, of course it's Josh Brolin. Couldn't be anybody else. Have you seen that face? When Austin Butler's character is introduced, he's this violent, vicious person that stabs and kills somebody and then feeds them to these other members of his group because they're starving. There's not a lot of motivation for this guy. Basically, Dave Bautista's character kept screwing up, not getting Spice production back up. So Stellan Skarsgård says, I'm going to have a new person with blackjack and hookers, or just black coats and slashy stuff. And, Baldy and Austin Butler's really trying to get away from that Elvis character, which is probably good because I didn't care for the Elvis movie either. When Priscilla, which wasn't that great, was the better of the two Elvis movies, that's saying something. So, yeah, we get some sandworm shots. At one point, Javier Bardem's riding a sandworm. And then we see Paul basically ingratiate him and Zendaya get on. Cool, I guess, if you're into that thing. Two pretty people doing the boinking. Yeah, if you can tell I'm not taking this very seriously, yeah, you're right. It's kind of a quick romance because you don't actually know how much time really has passed. Like, from the events of the first one into this. I mean, I assume days, hours, possibly minutes. I mean, I don't really know. They're able to mount these offensives and, like, take out these spice factories and take out these ships just with almost little effort. And then suddenly that stops, and then there are these assaults in the mountainous region that hides that houses their fort. Oh, and Rebecca Ferguson turns into some kind of Reverend Mother, where she has writing on her goddamn face, like she's fucking Hakushi from 95-96 WWF. If you get that, that is a deep cut reference. Jinsuke Sasaki, I think is his name, in Japan. Nevertheless, he was really cool, and he looked a lot cooler than Rebecca Ferguson. She just has weird writing on her face. And now, after drinking this water of life, this elixir that was in a potion bottle, straight out of Final Fantasy and every other standard goddamn, fantasy RPG as opposed to non-fantasy RPG games. She drinks that, now suddenly she can see all. Oh, and she's pregnant. She's pregnant with, I assume, a girl that turns into Anya Taylor-Joy, because you see like one shot. It looked like Anya Taylor-Joy. It might have not been, but I was pretty captivated when they showed they showed one shot of the sister and it looked like her, and I love me some Anya Taylor-Joy, so there you are. And yeah, the kid counsels Rebecca Ferguson. Why? I don't fucking goddamn know. Do you want to explain it? Do you care at this point? And Paul basically is not a dead man. Miss him. He kind of gets this complex because Javier Bardem's still guarding out Rygar. No disc armor in this. I'm just throwing random references here because I do not care at this point. He sees him as this great, powerful leader. The Lisan al-Habib, I think is what the fuck it said. Lisan al-Gaib. The Maudi, the Saint Maud. Saint Maud's a much better movie than this. It also was only half the length of this. This is a near 3-hour movie. And once again, much like part 1, they could have easily been from 2:35 down to 2 hours. This could have easily been 2 hours, 10 minutes. It's like the Mockingjay thing. They didn't need to make both of those so goddamn long. Nevertheless, I guess they had to stretch this shit out. They had to have people ride sandworms, including Paul nearly crashing and burning because he's like, hey, shit, this giant sandworm, I really shouldn't have summoned this, and I'm slipping down the sand dune with a giant sandworm taking it out. This seems make any sense. And then we see how the water of life is made because some person in the south. By the way, the south of Arrakis is uninhabitable. Actually, it's not. Paul's dreams are telling him that if he goes there, eradication will happen. Why? His dreams tell him weird things, and spice affects his brain and gets in here and all this. But his mother travels there, despite being pregnant, and talking to her fetus controlling her. Great sci-fi, Frank Herbert. Great sci-fi. What the fuck were you on? And basically, he eventually, after they have to move down to the south because the bald people show up and are like, we're going to shoot you, and boom, 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 boom. And then they move down there, and then they mount off as he takes the water of life. Men aren't supposed to take that. He's going to die. But Zendaya brings him back to life. Why? Because she was referred to something called Desert Spring or something like that. It was a nickname given to her by the Freeman, I guess. Yes. I don't know. She puts her tear in the water of life, this blue elixir that you get from the snake, or you get from the little young worm, by the way. You get it, you drown it, and then you stick the stuff in there and you siphon it out. That sounds pretty goddamn brutal. Also, they siphon the water out of the corpses of the people they kill, because water is such a premium. Whatever. And then, yeah, he drinks the water of life. She brings him back because of that. He gets this complex where he's like, I'm going to do this because the Emperor killed, led to the death of my dad and various other friends of mine. Oh, also, it turns out that Jessica is actually the daughter of the Baron, a.k.a. Stellan Skarsgård. So, yes, Stellan Skarsgård helped, get it on and reproduce Rebecca Ferguson. You are welcome for that image. You're fucking welcome. Which means that he is the grandson of the Baron. And they do this giant attack and this thing where the Emperor's come down. Christopher Walken's been in like 5 scenes in the entire nearly 3-hour runtime. Florence Pugh, who again looks fucking incredible. There's this advisor mother that reminded me kind of dressed like Helen Mirren from Winchester, except Helen Mirren actually gave a shit in Winchester. This lady did not give a shit at all. And they eventually, come to invade the area that looked like a giant roly, metal yo-yo. And then him and Austin Butler have a fight where basically it seemed like, Paul's going to get killed. Nope, he's not. He ends up killing Austin Butler. And then he takes Florence Pugh for his wife and leaves Zendaya in the dust. And then they're going to get on ships and go attack the other houses. The house people, ship people, the other planets. The other people that are not happy that Paul is doing this. We want to eradicate you. And no, he's coming after us. No. Yeah, there's a third book. There's a third fucking book. Dune Messiah, I think is what it's called. It has Messiah in the title. So we're getting a trilogy. He's doing another one of these. Why? Just fucking why? Oh yeah, it's making a lot of money and suckers like me will go watch it. Yeah, it kind of almost suffers from the second, the middle of a trilogy syndrome. The thing is, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. It's just not good. It's not interesting. You don't care about the characters. Like, there's great scope. And the worms look cool. Like giant sand vulvas. Arrakis vulvas. You're welcome. It's great scope, but I'm sorry, even though I gave a C+ to Dune Part 1, I got to give this an F. I'm not saying a 1 out of 10, but I got to say this. If we're ranking it as far as anything, this is below a 6 out of 10. This is boring. This is bland. This is not good. I look forward to the hate I'm going to get in the goddamn comments from Dune fans, but I'm not saying you guys can't like this. It just gets an F for me. It is terrible. It is ultimately very terrible, despite being very visually sumptuous. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.